You are not born to the sound of bells, but to coughing. The house is damp. The floor smells of ash, sheep fat, and old milk. Your mother presses you to her chest, while beyond the wall they are already arguing whether there will be enough bread to last the family through the winter. You grow up quickly, not because life is kind, because it doesn't wait. In the morning, you are woken not by the sun, but by the smell of manure, damp straw, and broth made from yesterday's bones. You are still a child, yet your palms are already rough, like an old rope. In winter, the stone in the house is colder than a grave. You sleep with one eye open, listening to rats scratching in the corner and to the wheeze rattling in your mother's chest. That's when you understand, for the first time, death is not somewhere far away. It lives nearby. It simply keeps silent until it's time. By the age of 7, you are already running errands for the barber. You sweep up hair, hold the basin, carry water, while the metallic smell of blood and vinegar stings your nose. Men scream when their teeth are pulled, and you learn not to flinch when someone else's pain is close. You quickly learn the value of the body. For the rich, it is precious. It is treated. For the poor, it is expendable, as long as the hands keep moving. And when a dying stonemason is brought into the shop, you see it clearly. In this world, mercy is something that is sold. As a teenager, you are no longer afraid of pus. The smell of rotting flesh, damp bandages, and hot sweat seeps into you so deeply that it won't wash off for years. You are not yet a healer, but already someone trusted with the most terrifying thing of all, another person's flesh. Then hope comes, small, foolish, alive. You begin to learn to read Latin texts, study herbs, argue with your master, and think, maybe you can become a real physician. For the first time, you don't just want to survive. You want to rise above your own filth. At the market, you hear the talk. At first, quiet, then angry. Somewhere along the roads, entire households are falling ill. Somewhere, houses are being sealed shut. Somewhere, carts are already carrying the dead more often than flour. The city still lives as usual, for now. The first real blow comes without drums. A woman is carried into the shop with a fever, delirium, and black swellings under her arm. The master goes pale. So do you. Because now the rumors are over. The disease is already looking you in the face. Within a week, the city is already coughing. The bells toll more often. The priests grow weary of reading last rites. Neighbors begin to look at one another like rats in a granary. And you see the main thing. The plague does not kill only the body. It devours trust first. When fever takes your master, there is no one left to choose. He lies drenched, reeking of vinegar and fear, whispering to you where the instruments and notes are kept. That night, you stop being an assistant, simply because there is no one else left. You are summoned by the authorities not out of respect, but out of desperation. They need someone who will go where no one else dares. And when they hand you a long cloak, gloves, a staff, and a beaked mask, you understand. You have become a sign of calamity yourself. In the beak, dried mint, rosemary, juniper. Yet through the herbs, the true smell of the plague still seeps in, sweet, rotten, clinging, like spoiled meat in the heat. From that day on, you breathe through fear, and you keep going. You make your rounds through houses marked with the sign of disease. Behind the doors, children are crying. Some are praying. Some are shouting to be let out. And you stand in the dark corridor and understand. Inside these walls, time is different now. Short, heavy, final. You lance the boils, change the cloths, feel foreheads through your gloves. People grab your sleeve as if you could bargain for even one more day for them. But often, all you have is vinegar, a knife, and a lie, spoken in a gentle voice. Sometimes you heal. Sometimes you only count. How many are sick? How many have died? How many are still alive in the house? The paper beneath your hand is dry, but the world around you has long since been soaked with tears, sweat, and filth. There is less trade in the streets now, more smoke. They burn rags, herbs, refuse. They think death can be choked with the smell of fire, but you already know, when a city is rotting from within, fire only helps the living believe they are doing something. The hardest part is the children. Their small hands are hot, like stones by the hearth. Their eyes are clouded. Their voices no longer cry, but rasp, and you catch yourself clenching your teeth beneath the mask harder than when you cut into a grown man. People begin to hate you. To them, you are not a physician. You are a crow-faced omen after which only silence remains in the house. They spit at you. They recoil from you. Yet they still call for you when the fever comes to their own door. You no longer eat at a table, only on the move, bread, cheese, a swallow of sour wine. Your hands smell of vinegar even after sleep. The skin beneath your gloves macerates, turns pale, cracks. The trade slowly wears down more than your nerves. It eats away at your body piece by piece. At night, a cart comes for you. Its wheels creak as if they're tired of carrying the dead. Beneath the tarp, not bodies, still alive, just barely human now. And you ride to the lazaret where the air is thick with coughing, fear, and the end. There is no silence in the lazaret. Never. Some rave, some vomit, some beg to be finished off. Between the cots, puddles, pus, blood, and a stench even the mask no longer keeps out. Here, you don't work by the hour. Here, you work until your soul goes numb. At times, you cut into a bubo and find yourself thinking not of the patient, but of yourself. Whether the infection has slipped beneath your glove, whether you've stayed in this room too long, and in those moments you hate yourself for the fact that fear always wears your own face. Sometimes those you almost pulled back yesterday die. Sometimes those you had already given up on survive. The plague breaks more than people. It breaks all certainty, and you learn to live in a world where victory is only a delay. Then the disease enters your own home, not with a crash, not with noise. One day, your sister simply doesn't rise from her bed, and you, a man in a dreadful mask, suddenly find yourself more helpless than any peasant, because you know too much. You do for her everything you did for strangers: vinegar, compresses, infusions, prayers you no longer believe in. But when your own blood slips through your fingers, the craft becomes a mockery, because love brings no new remedies. When she dies, you don't cry out. You simply sit beside her and hear someone outside bargaining for a place in the cemetery. And that's when something in you finally breaks. Death no longer frightens you. Only its familiarity does. After that, you work even harder, not for power, not for money. Simply so the disease doesn't feel as though it has already defeated you completely. You become dry, precise, almost made of iron. And people begin to fear that even more. And then comes a day when there are so many dead that no one notices a single death anymore. Carts, one after another. Sheets, legs, arms, children's shoulders. And you walk beside them, counting not people, but the weight of grief the city can no longer carry. At the mass grave, the earth no longer has time to settle. The shovels sink in. The mules wheeze. The priest recites the prayer so quickly as if he himself wants to leave this place alive as soon as possible. You stand at the edge of the pit and, for the first time, feel your knees tremble beneath the heavy cloak. And then, your own fever. First, weakness. Then an ache in your back. Then a night when the sheet reeks of sweat so strongly that you recognize the smell yourself, like an old enemy. You sit up in bed and understand. Now, it's your turn. You examine yourself with the same cold precision you once used on others. There is a special cruelty in that, becoming your own patient. But under your arm there is nothing, no swelling, which means perhaps it isn't the plague. Perhaps it is not your time yet. You claw your way back, slowly, filthily, on the edge. After the fever, every step feels like walking on thorns. The world sways, food smells like ash. But you are alive, and it is no longer a gift. It is a debt, one you will have to keep paying. When you step outside again, the city is no longer the same. Half the shops are closed. Many houses have new owners. The squares are quieter now, as if even the stone has learned to grieve. The plague has not entirely gone, but it has already left its mark deeper than any blade. You are no longer the boy from the damp house. Now they come to you not only the dying, but those who want to understand how to survive the next calamity. And you teach the young not heroism. You teach something simpler, to look horror straight in the eye and not lie to themselves. The years dry you out. Your back bends, your fingers ache in the cold. At night you still hear the carts and the coughing from wards that no longer exist. Old age does not come alone. It drags with it all the dead you have outlived. The mask hangs on the wall now, more a relic than armor. Sometimes children ask to see it up close. They laugh. They get scared. They don't understand. And you look at the beak and know, this is not the face of a hero. It is the face of a time when people were desperately trying not to die. Before your death, you rarely leave the house. You sit by the window, listen to the market, hear the living, and it warms you more than fire ever could, because after everything you have seen, the most precious sound in the world is ordinary human life without groans. You die quietly, without a crowd, without glory. One day, the heart that has beaten beside death for too long simply grows tired, and in the room remain your notes, your staff, your old mask, and the life you pulled out of rot with your own hands. And this is what remains after you, not a legend, not a tale of a hero in a beaked mask. What remains is the truth. You were a man who walked into the worst stench, the deepest fear, the darkest places, when others stepped back. And so your life is not about the plague.